Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Ivy from the podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content I will be having for you guys is covering some bonus content for you guys in the NBA world. So if you guys haven't checked out episode 66, it's now available on Apple Podcasts. It's available on our Instagram account, our Facebook account, and our YouTube account as well. So the bonus content I have for you guys today is I will be sharing my thoughts on Donovan Mitchell being traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, obviously, this took place a week or so ago. If you guys are wondering why I didn't cover it a week ago or during the last episode, episode 66, for you guys who have watched it or listened to it, obviously in episode 66, I covered an NFL episode. It was an all-out NFL episode. But during the time when he was traded, not this past Thursday, but the following Thursday that passed by, I was on vacation during Labor Day weekend. I obviously seen the news and about the trade. I was excited about the news for the trade, but I didn't get a chance to talk about the trade. So that's the reason why I have not covered this trade yet. But my thoughts on Donovan Mitchell being traded to the Cleveland Cavaliers, I absolutely love the trade that the Cleveland Cavaliers made to get another star player, bring another star caliber player in Cleveland. It makes them a whole lot better. It makes the organization a whole lot better. It makes them a contending team in a loaded Eastern Conference where they're going to have to be battling the likes of the reigning defending Eastern Conference champions, the Boston Celtics, the Miami Heat, who are still going to be contending with Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and hopefully Tyler Hero grows this season. You're going to have the Philadelphia 76ers, who have obviously gotten better this NBA offseason. You have the Brooklyn Nets, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons. As much as I dislike the court, they're still going to be a threat and still trying to contend for a championship this year. You're talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, who still have Giannis, Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday and company. And that's just 5 teams. There's more talented teams in the Eastern Conference. This conference is going to be the best conference in basketball. So what the Cleveland Cavaliers do, they've seen that the rest of the Eastern Conference is getting better during this NBA offseason, and they just decided to get even more better this NBA offseason by trading for Donovan Mitchell. And I'm so glad they were smart enough not to trade 7 first-round picks like the New York Knicks. Like the Utah Jazz wanted from the New York Knicks if Donovan Mitchell were to go to New York. It's just so much better. And if you guys have watched and followed the podcast if you guys have followed the podcast for quite some time, I talked about it in the beginning of the year before the second half of the NBA started rolling around. I still stand to this point this day. I said the Cleveland Cavaliers were the best kept secret in the NBA last season, and they're going to be even better this season. So bright days are ahead for Cleveland Cavaliers fans. So did the Cleveland Cavaliers give up too much to get Donovan Mitchell? My answer here is no. Yes, they gave up Colin Sexton. I am a firm believer in Colin Sexton. I love his game. I love his drive. I love his energy that he puts. He puts his heart and soul out to the basketball court, on that basketball court on a nightly basis, and will give you everything you want in a rising young player. But it just wasn't meant to be for him in Cleveland. There was a lot of question marks with him and Darius Garland. For me, playing together as a tandem, 2 backcourt mates together back there for Cleveland, it was a question mark for me. Obviously, I think that due to the fact that his injury kept him off the floor for the second half of the NBA season, the Cleveland Cavaliers thought they had enough to move on from Colin Sexton, and they did it in a big way. For trading for Donovan Mitchell, traded Colin Sexton and 2 other players and 3 first-round picks to Utah. I hope nothing but the best for Colin Sexton, but it's going to be a long time before he has a chance to truly contend for a championship. Maybe the Utah Jazz trade him. They traded Patrick Beverley, who was traded there from the Minnesota Timberwolves, to get Rudy Gobert this summer. They obviously traded him to the Los Angeles Lakers. So maybe they trade Colin Sexton to a contending team and even get more draft picks. But hoping nothing but the best for him. But I don't think they gave up too much. Like I just said a moment ago, it could have been worse. They could have given up possibly 6 or 7 first-round picks, or in the range of the Rudy Gobert, what the Minnesota Timberwolves gave up. 4 picks or more could have been in this deal to get Donovan Mitchell to Cleveland. So I don't think the Cavs gave up too much. I think they gave up the right amount to get Donovan Mitchell. So I like the trade. I like that the Cleveland Cavaliers went out and got a star player. It's going to pay off for them in the long run, I believe. Even though I said the Cleveland Cavaliers are the best kept secret in the NBA last season, obviously everybody knows the story. They failed to win their 2 play-in tournament games. Obviously, the first game they had to go on the road and play in Brooklyn against the Brooklyn Nets. They lost to Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving in that first play-in game. 2 nights later, they had another chance to secure the 8th seed in the NBA, in the Eastern Conference in the NBA playoffs. They failed to capture that final 8th seed and lost to the Atlanta Hawks, Trae Young and company. But it would have been better, in my opinion, if they won that game. And I think it would have been a competitive series between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Miami Heat in the first round of the NBA playoffs. Even though the fact that the Heat swept the Hawks, gentlemen swept them in the first round. I think this, if the series happened between the Heat and the Cavs, it would have went on to Game 6. That's how much I believe in the Cleveland Cavaliers. And I really think that Donovan Mitchell, this was one of his best landing spots. Even though I want, biasness aside, you guys know that I wanted Donovan Mitchell to be paired up with Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo in South Beach to play for the Miami Heat this upcoming NBA season. It just wasn't meant to be. Maybe it just wasn't in their cards. Maybe the Heat didn't want to give up Tyler Hero. Bottom line is the trade didn't happen. So I think this is really the best landing scenario for Donovan Mitchell to compete for a championship for the next 3 to 4 years. He joins a young, talented, hungry Cleveland Cavaliers core out there in Cleveland. This young core is going to be absolutely special in my opinion. The young core is highlighted with Darius Garland, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley, and now Donovan Mitchell. Those 4 talented players that I just named are all talented players, and they're all under the age of 26 years old. Darius Garland and Evan Mobley obviously being the 2 youngest out of the 4 players. But this is absolutely going to be spectacular. And the backcourt duo of Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, I've stated that I believe Darius Garland is going to take a step in his game this upcoming NBA season. Is going to have that type of leap year that John Morant just had for the Memphis Grizzlies this year. I believe Darius Garland is going to has the potential to be in the mix for the MVP, flirting with the idea of winning the MVP award this year. It's going to take a lot, but he has the potential to be in the conversation, flirting with the idea that he could be the MVP, just like John Morant was flirting with the idea that he had a chance to be MVP this past NBA season. So I think the backcourt duo of Garland and Donovan Mitchell, does have the potential to be as talented and as special as a backcourt duo that we just saw break up, that we got to watch over the last few years between Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. They did an absolutely spectacular job out there in Portland for the Portland Trail Blazers. They did everything they could to try to win a championship in Portland. The farthest that the duo got together was getting to the Western Conference Finals against the Golden State Warriors a few years ago, and they got swept in that series. But the duo over the last few years was special between the two. I think this has a potential to be just as special as a Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum connection in that backcourt duo. It's going to take time, but overall, I think it's going to be that special. And then you look at the defensive fronts for this Cleveland Cavaliers team that's going to be in their starting lineup with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. I think when healthy, when they're on the court together at the same time, they have the ability to cause defensive havoc and defensive problems on the defensive side of the ball together. Similar to the way how Al Horford and Robert Williams III play together in Boston for the Boston Celtics. Obviously, we've seen that throughout the regular season. We've seen that throughout the NBA playoffs. We've seen that at key points during the NBA Finals. That is the reason why the Boston Celtics were one of the best defensive teams in the NBA last season, because they had Al Horford and Robert Williams III out there. Obviously, Marcus Smart is the reigning defending Defensive Player of the Year in the NBA, but without those two in Boston, their defense wouldn't be that good. And I think that's going to be the reason why Jared Allen and Evan Mobley have the potential to bring out the best in the Cleveland Cavaliers defensively this year. I think their presence is going to be known defensively pretty well. And the talent doesn't stop there. If you think that they can't win with just Mobley, Allen, Mitchell, or Garland, you're wrong. This Cleveland Cavaliers team actually has a lot of depth. It doesn't stop there with talent-wise. They still do have Kevin Love, who is a veteran player, who has obviously was a part of that championship team with the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2016 when they had LeBron James and Kyrie Irving there. He's still around and can still give you solid minutes, solid points off the bench. LeVert, I believe in him. I'm a firm believer in his game. I think that's going to be another key player to bring off the bench for the Cleveland Cavaliers when the starters at the guard position need to break. He's definitely going to be a great fill-in player. Or you can play him at the small forward position if you wanted to play a little bit of small ball. Obviously, Ricky Rubio has been around the NBA for quite some time. He's still a talented veteran point guard in this basketball in the NBA. Can give you a lot of contributions off the bench. Isaiah Mobley, Evan Mobley's brother that just played for USC, I should say, this past college season. Second round pick for the Cleveland Cavaliers this past NBA draft. I think he's going to grow into himself and be a good defensive player coming off the bench for this Cavs team. And then you have the veteran Robin Lopez, who has been around the NBA for quite some time. All these players that I just named, all these veteran players are going to share their knowledge of the game and spread it to these young players who are still trying to grow in this league and become superstars in this league. So, and I also think these veteran players are going to help them during rough times where they might struggle against the best teams in the league. They might get blown out at times against the best teams in the league. They might lose close games against teams they're not supposed to during the NBA season. There's 82 games for a reason. There's always time to better yourself until the main event comes come playoff time. So I think that's would be the role that these veteran players help these young players grow this NBA season. So overall, I give the Cleveland Cavaliers a A+ for trading for Donovan Mitchell. This was absolutely the trade they needed. Hopefully and potentially maybe this sets up to bring in a superstar for the summer of 2023, next summer, to bring in another star to play in Cleveland with this loaded Cleveland Cavaliers team. This is the best time to be excited if you're a Cleveland Cavaliers fan, not only for the city of Cleveland sports-wise, because Deshaun Watson just got suspended for football for the first 11 games. It's just a great time. Honestly, really, the only thing that the Cleveland fan base really has to look forward to is Ohio State. But now they have something to look forward to for the NBA again. This is going to be an exciting time for Cleveland Cavaliers fans, I believe. Whether it's going to take 2 years, 3 years, this team will be an Eastern Conference championship, I believe, very, very soon. And potentially to an NBA Finals if they can land another star. This is going to be the first time that they have a chance to compete against just compete in the Eastern Conference and the other teams, the other loaded teams in the Western Conference. This is the first time since LeBron James left them in 2018 to go play for the Los Angeles Lakers. So they have a legit chance to be NBA contenders this NBA season. But that's my thoughts on the trade that the Utah Jazz and the Cleveland Cavaliers did for Donovan Mitchell and company last week. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. If you guys haven't checked out episode 66, it is now available on all 4 of our platforms: our Instagram account, our Facebook account, our YouTube account, and our Apple Podcast account. But this is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. I'll see you guys on next week's episode.